people, not fundamentalist Baptists or something. So, but I just I thought, fuck, I'm not going to do this anymore. But then I switched jobs, and in the training I started to read some of the old letters that I had written there were 5 of us. We would go to training we'd come back and work for a month and a half, then we'd go to training again for a week's training and 3 different times. And I started reading the letters to them, and it sort of got me. I thought, well, fuck, new group of people, I'll
reinvigorated.
Yeah, because basically I just thought, man, this is a waste of my time. I'm not getting any response here. Nobody cares, and I got better things to do. So I know that's why I just point out this 3-year gap here, because that's when I kind of was going to give it up. And is this ready to go?
Yeah, rolling.
This is March of 1998. My dear friends, in 1970, the Peace Corps posted me to the tropical lowlands of Colombia that stretch for a few hundred miles from where the Andes peter out to where the Caribbean laps the shore. There is little elevation in any direction, and the rivers that torrent out of the Andes meander and puddle. There are lakes and swamps everywhere. It's hot and it rains a lot. Firefly heaven, I guess, because my memories of that time are full of flashing sparkles, specks of light dancing and flowing in the night. These memories may be more beautiful than reality, as memory sometimes is, but I likely will never return except in memory, so being more beautiful than reality should not be an objection, and I'll tell you about a time I had not recalled for many years that came back to me as Tina and I sat in the yard one evening. You may remember from a past letter that I think our garden in Liberty Street is paradise, so when Tina said something to the effect that all is beautiful indeed, I was surprised to hear myself long for fireflies instead of gush agreement. One night in June, I had ridden a local bus from Monteria, the department capital, about 20 miles north on the main road to the coast, and then another 20 miles on a branch road to the small village of Cienega de Oro. When the Spaniards arrived, the local people were in the habit of offering golden sacrifice to the watery gods, which gives rise to the name, the Swamp of Gold. But now there's no hint of gold, but there's still plenty of swamp. Most of the route after we left the main road is a causeway a few feet above the reeds and ooze and water that arrives at the home. Few homes huddle on a mound scarcely higher than the causeway. We'd been invited for dinner, 3 Peace Corps volunteers, by the big landowner of the village as a diplomatic courtesy. We enjoy an excellent dinner of local fare and observe some patron-peon interaction while we drink shots of the local hooch called aguardiente, that's firewater. But what makes everything memorable is the ride back. The buses quit running from such a small place after dusk, so our host has arranged for us to return to Monteria on an empty flatbed truck. The tropical night is so cool and full of moisture that it's palpable, and riding the open truck bed is like wearing a soft cloak of night. There's no moon or any man-made luminescence to tame the star-sparkle sky. Lightning incandescence inside distant clouds, but so distant that they seem a special kind of twinkling star in the thick atmosphere of the horizon. Fireflies are everywhere, so it seems like the stars begin at my fingertips, sequence on the cloth of night I wear, and a spangle from here all the way to Beetlejuice. Well, there are no fireflies in Fresno, but as Wallace Stevens says, reality is an activity of the most august imagination. Last Friday, in the big light of last Friday night, we drove home from Conwell to Hartford late. It was not a night blown at a glassworks in Vienna or Venice, motionless gathering dust and time. There was a crush of strength in the grinding going around under the front of the western evening star. The vigor of glory a glittering in the veins as things emerged and moved and were dissolved, either in distance or change or nothingness. The visible transformations of summer night, an Argentine abstraction approaching form and suddenly denying itself away. There was an in-solid billowing of the solid. Night's moonlight lake was neither water nor air. Few people comment on the poetry I quote in these letters, but Wallace Stevens' Night's Moonlight Lake is made of the same material as my cloak of velveteen firefly-studded night. Surely reality is a work of imagination, august or not. Listen to this. For eons, the solid earth has split and cracked like a too-ripe melon. Juice from the molten core gushes out with such force that nothing can resist its tyrant will, and the cold, congealed scab of similar earlier expulsions, 15,000 feet thick, is pushed to either side. Old ocean floor and islands and continents are carried along with no more seeming effort than a collie driving sheep to slaughter. Other oozing ruptures from far around the world are doing the same, so that the earth meets spreading earth like a huge sumo wrestler, body locked with no retreat and no surrender save annihilation, and they push and strain as ocean floors and islands and continents are ripped and torn and smashed together until one rupture is stuffed, quenched, overrun, subsumed, and obliterated. Then the victor immediately engages mortal combat with the massed extrusion of yet another belching crack. This sounds crazier than a velvet robe of firefly speckled night, but in fact, that scenario is the reality of science today. The Earth is alive, and Fresno lies just back of the seam where North America breaks upon the extruded Pacific Ocean floor. What power is surging under feet, under my rolling bicycle wheels, under my bed? Fresno is riding a wave pushed up where gigantic shards of earth strain together, and sometimes I sense it and I lean to catch the wave. If surfing the earth seems odd, consider this poem in which Fred Berry talks to a rock. This is called Silicate Carbonate Rock. White hard rock, altered from that serpentine body of hot waters, no one knows just how, metamorphized from your earlier life. Who would guess you're descended from that green, lustrous material the Indians carved for pipes or rubbed in their hands to gladden the spirit? You're silicified so completely you look like a knobby white shirt, badly fractured from your earlier hydrated beginnings. Your story isn't often told, how you had an even earlier origin in the Earth's mantle. You rode up a subduction zone for your first intrusion, and now you're in my backyard. At first, I thought you were an outcrop before I climbed in the cellars at Easter Walk and found the hill was made of Franciscan graywacke, badly fractured. Later, I discovered you had no connections. Deep down, you were a big rolling stone from Cragmont Rock. I've been sitting on you several hours, Silica Carbonate Rock. You remain as imprecise as your name. I'd start if somebody called me Flesh Bones Man. I wonder what others sat here before me, on you in this garden. Sunset, birds I never met before, act like this is their home. Talking to a rock, surfing the earth, wearing firefly night? Why not? This recalls a dream from last January that I jotted down to remember. I'm standing on the trailhead high up the south ridge above 9 Mile Creek, aware of my surroundings on many levels, that the location and weather are sensually pleasant, that the walk is famous because Alan Watts had described it in an essay about unity of and with nature, that I was feeling that unity and was, surreally, equally aware that none of it was true because there is no 9 Mile Creek and no such essay by Watts, and that doesn't matter because the feeling of unity with nature and with Alan Watts is pleasant and real. I walk along the paved path down from the wilderness to where children are playing with plastic cars on a dirt bank by the trail, and I stop to watch, and I love everything, and I'm bathed in love. Without waking, I walk to the bathroom, and I come out of the dream sitting on the pond, tendrils of the dream still lingering. It was so pleasant a feeling that the unity of 9 Mile Creek Trail, Alan Watts, and kids playing with cards in the dirt made as much sense awake as on the pond, asleep in dreamland. Looking through old papers to find the notes about that old dream, I came upon something I'd written in 1988 that you might enjoy. One day last fall, I left work elated. Friday, payday. Although I'm a settled family man with regular pay that has no relation to Friday, and I have a credit card that doesn't care about the day of the week, still, there's magic in payday at the start of the weekend, and I began to pedal in great good spirits. I crossed the main artery in front of the office alertly, but then dropped into the steady rhythm that often makes the 2 mile ride home pass without conscious thought. Soon I was chanting in time with the rotating pedals and the rolling wheels. Friday, payday, Friday, payday. The first 2 blocks slid under the spinning wheels at cruising speed. There was a car coming towards me approaching the 3rd intersection, but it gave no indication of turning across my path, so I barely noted it, rolling and chanting Friday, payday, when a motorcycle flashed out from behind the building that obscured the cross street, going much too fast. There's going to be a crash, I thought, as I was already pulling back on the handlebars, trying to haul the bike from the path of danger. Both the car and the motorcycle brake, but too late. The motorcycle and its driver seemed to stop instantly and totally on impact, but the rider behind the driver on the motorcycle flies over the car and down the road on his face. The car, however, keeps moving, only now the center line of the hood is coming straight towards me, and I can't take my eyes off of it, and it looms to fill my whole field of vision. I had yanked the handlebars so mighty that the front wheel had reared up like a papa wheelie, and I had no control beyond hope, so I was hoping mightily as the wheel dropped back to the pavement, lightly kissing the finally stopped car's bumper. The passenger in the car seat with the motorcycle struck, where the motorcycle struck, and the one who had slid down the street were both badly injured, but both drivers seemed okay. Neighbors from around the crossroads appeared to comfort, call for help, and recount their versions of what had happened. After a few minutes, it was clear that I was not needed as a witness, and so I left, pedaling home, handlebars askew, and a strange noise coming from the rear axle. Friday payday indeed, only you never know when Friday will come or what the payoff will be. Well, that's it from Liberty Street, imagining peace and love. Eric.